Okay, so we're going to talk about another way to factor this expression. Before I talked about how you could factor this using the grid method, I'm just going to use the same exact problem. And for that, I'm going to talk about factoring using the X plus cross mat is what I like to call it. And essentially, the reason I call it that is because I have two areas where I'm going to be multiplying values. Okay, so here's my mat. Okay, I'm kind of using a workspace. I'm going to get values to those, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sum those values up to create these. Now the goal is to make sure that they equal our middle term in this in the standard quadratic formula, in the standard quadratic form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So what we're going to do here to start this method off is that we come up here and we're going to take a look at our factors independently. The AC method, you would multiply them together, and then you would look at those factors. This method, okay, I recommend if you have a really strong sense with numbers. If you really don't have like a crazy strong sense with numbers, the AC method is probably one of the better methods for you to learn that doesn't really require you to do too much manipulation. This one does require a little bit more. But anyhow, it is still a good method. It helps work on number sense. So what we do is independently we look at the factors of ax squared. So the factors of ax squared we're really concerned with are the a. So the actual coefficients. So first things first, we take a look at the 2. And we write out all the factors of 2. And the factors of 2, we always start with the smallest, which is 1, and then 2. And then I would go on to the next one, 2. Okay, well the only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Then I look at the factors of 12. Okay, so what I now do is I'd say, okay, 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And these are all my factors of 12. These are the values that I'm going to go ahead and play around with so to fill in this grid. So the first thing I do is I always put my 2 is going to go up here, and then my 12 is going to go up here. So essentially my ax squared term goes here, and my c term goes in this column. And these are the things that I just rearrange and I play with. So what I'm really going to be looking for is what factors can I multiply together and then take their products and sum them to make bx. And our bx in this case is going to be that I need to make an 11x. So to make an 11, if I'm summing, okay, I'm going to have to add together either two negatives or a smaller negative than I would a positive. Now keeping in mind at the same time that these have to still make positive 12 when you multiply them together. So here we go. So what I'm going to look at now is that I have this grid over here, and I'm just going to say, okay, the 2, I've only got a 1 and a 2. What I now need to play with are the factors over here. Now, the thing about this is when I'm talking about the number sense, it's kind of like thinking about taking a best guess estimate. So generally what we do is we kind of start in the middle and work our way from there. Did I get a number that was too great? And then maybe I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to bump down the factors. Or I get a number that's too small, and then I'm going to say, oh, let's bump it up. So first things first that I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play with these numbers, and I'm going to go, okay, if I had 1 times 2, and I said, oh, 2 times 6. All right? What I'm then going to do is I'm going to say 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 times 6 is 12. There is no way from 2 and 12 that I'm going to be able to make 11. I'm done. But before I skip on to another pair, I might say, well, what happens if I just rearrange them? Instead of putting the 6 with the 2, maybe I put the 6 with the 1 and the 2 with this. Well, 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? And this is all processes that you can learn to do in your head, and you don't need to use this grid anymore, but it's just helpful to use. So 6 plus 4, does that equal negative 11? No, so that's not going to help me. Okay, so 6 and 2, even with them rearranged, I'm going out the window. So what I might say is that I was getting numbers that were one time too big and another time too small, so I'm going to say, you know what, well, let's just go to 1 and 12. All right, so I'm just guessing and checking. Well, if I look at this and I go, okay, what if I put the 12 with the 1, and then I put the 1 with the 2? So then I go on from here and I go, okay, 1 times 12 is 12, and 2 times 1 is 2. Well, again, I get 12 and 2, which isn't going to help me. So that's no good. And before I'm not even really going to check this, because I'm going to get 2 times 12 if I switch them, it makes 24. And then I have another 1. So I kind of did that part mentally and go, I'm not even going to bother switching them because it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to get anything even close to 11. So now that leaves me with 3 and 4. So if I put 3 here and I put 4 here. So 2 times 4 is 8. And I do 1 times 3, which is 3. So now what I have here is I've got 3 plus 8, that makes positive 11x, all right? But the goal is that I need to make 11x, so these both need to be negative in this case to make that negative 11. So negative 3 plus negative 8 makes this negative 11x. Now what I don't want to do is I really don't want to change the signs of my ax squared term ever, because I really like to have my x squared term positive if I can. So in this case, I'm going to manipulate these. Well, 1 times what makes negative 3? So well, that's a negative 3. 2 times what makes negative 8? Well, that's a negative 4. So I now have my answer. I've got these two products and these two products that their product has a sum of negative 11x. The last thing I do, and the reason I call it the cross mat, is simply because my last step is to put these things into parentheses. And when I put them in the parentheses, I always start with my ax squared. That will always be the first term. These ones right here will always be the first term that goes into both of these parentheses. So, doesn't matter the order. Let's say I go, I'm going to put the 2x here and the 1x here, right? Okay. From that, what you need to do is, I call it the cross mat again, because you put the cross value, okay, with the other term. So the 2x doesn't go with the one I multiplied by. It goes with the negative 3. It goes with the value across from it. So you put negative 3 here, so you get 2x minus 3. And you put the 1x with the negative 4, so you get 1x minus 4. Okay? And then this statement is factored. I've properly taken a sum, okay, a term of sums, and I put them as expressions of multiplication. And then that's factored, and then that would be it. So I hope this method helps. If you like it, if you didn't like the AC method, I have one more method, which I'll be making another video on, which is called the quadratic formula using that. Okay.